The most difficult question a doctor gets came from my mom. She fought her third battle with cancer, and we stood in the hospital lobby coping with the fact that her cancer was back. She refused chemotherapy after the devastation the last round had caused, and she asked me, "If it was you, what would you do?" I told her, "Go home, throw out the carbs," and I did it with her. 6 weeks later, her cancer was down by 70%. And I had lost 10 pounds. This is where our keto journey began. But we made a ton of mistakes in the beginning. First mistake, I was gluttonous about too much fat for too long. When transitioning to a high-fat metabolism, it is essential to nourish your fat-based hormones. Your fat-based hormones, all listed here, begin with cholesterol, which is a form of fat. And in the beginning, it is crucial for your body to restore the amount of cholesterol in motion. From that cholesterol, you make all those hormones. And this is why the first few weeks of keto feel amazing and do improve your energy, your immune system, and your metabolism. In the beginning, I was just like you. All of these fat-based hormones were inside my fat cells. And when I changed the chemistry, these hormones not only replenished, but now were active and were able to leave my fat cells and enter back into my lean tissue, where they improved my immune system and my energy. I never felt hungry eating so much fat. I loved it. It tasted great, kept me full. But like anything on the ketogenic diet, things stabilized and I needed to move on, stress my metabolism further in order to continue to get benefits from this new way of living. This is probably what my blood sugars look like before the ketogenic diet. 3 meals a day, but my processed foods shot my blood sugars way up. Starting on the ketogenic diet, those blood sugars lowered when I only took in 20 total carbs. At the same time, a wave of ketones hit my system, which is when I started feeling so well. This also changed my metabolism, but as predicted, my body adapted, and those ketones settled down to only the ones I was using. During this time of adaptation, my results stalled. The fact that I accidentally missed a meal should have given me a clue that the chemistry was carrying me. I was doing great. But I didn't do the next step. I didn't move on to only 2 meals per day. This phase of high-fat 3 meals, the gluttony phase, should have only lasted for 4 to 6 weeks, but I stayed there for months. So during this time, I wasn't really testing. I was just enjoying this improved metabolism, and the stall kind of went unnoticed. In my high-carb life, I used food to comfort, and I was trying to do the same thing in this ketogenic lifestyle, using sugar substitutes or trying to recreate those comfort foods without the carbs. Just don't stay away from the fat bombs and the keto desserts. This is not a good plan. You would not tell an alcoholic to replace whiskey with wine. Don't replace dessert with keto desserts. Replace it with community. If you're used to that sweet something after a meal, find a different activity, a board game, a card game, or other places where you enhance your oxytocin, where you stimulate that loving hormone within yourself. This is a far better plan than a fat bomb. So here's some of the ways that I mine my oxytocin. I pray, I write a gratitude list, I like playing with a dog, I love puzzles. When I'm looking for distraction, my husband and I will find a good show to watch. We play games together. We do anything to not focus on the food as we're trying to wind down from the day. Which brings me to my biggest mistake number 3, and that is measuring. Yes, you are not on the ketogenic diet if you're not circulating ketones. Those urine ketone strips are great, and I tell patients to pee on them first thing in the morning. It's great affirmation that you are making and circulating ketones. But I waited a whole year to prick my finger and prove that I was circulating ketones once I was keto adapted, because that's when these ketones in circulation fall. And you really do need a better form of measurement in order to know if you're circulating ketones. So here's what my system looked like when I went to 2 meals per day. And at first, it was a great stress of my metabolism, only eating twice a day. This resulted in a wave of ketones. But it wasn't long before my ketones dropped below 0.5 in circulation. And this is when I should have stimulated my metabolism again. The best way to do that was to shrink the hours per day that I allowed myself to eat. This is called closing your window or time-restricted eating. I did what most people did when I shrunk my eating window. I didn't eat in the morning. I just had a meal around noon and one in the evening. And this worked okay at first, but it didn't take long for those ketones to sink again. You'll notice that morning sugar is still pretty high. It's like a half a meal that's happening in my blood system, even though I never ate. The best way to stimulate that metabolism and get a higher wave of ketones for a longer period of time is to move those two meals earlier in the morning. Overlapping that morning rise in glucose with the first time you eat decreases the number of times that insulin surges. For those of you that are afraid to prick your finger, here's a pro tip. Use the side of the finger. Also, use one of these spring-loaded lancets. You don't feel it, or at least it's so tiny you shouldn't complain. After you've thrown out all your carbs, watch this video before you shop. It will save you a lot of money in groceries.